Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is KidNativeBloodYellow.com, joined once again by Zane Simon for the sixth round of UFC Fight Night Namajunas versus Vanzant. What a vicious and brutal and prolonged beating that was. Zane, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I picked Namajunas to win. I thought that she would be able to. I kind of figured that they would be pretty equal physically, and that Namajunas would be able to jump on the opportunities that Van Zant would give her over the course of the fight, just because she's more technical. But man, it wasn't equal anywhere. Van Zant just took a beating every aspect of the fight.
She had the edge in heart, and that's a bad thing when you've got nothing else.
I don't even
'Cause
know that she had the edge. We don't even know if she had the edge in art.
it's
We just
true,
know,
it's true. She showed an incredible amount of
yeah,
heart, but
she
my
did.
God, it just took a vicious, vicious, prolonged beating. And one of my reservations about women's MMA right now is Namajunas was very good, very skilled, but she didn't have the power to knock her out, and she had numerous submission opportunities she couldn't finish. So it just kept being prolonged and prolonged and prolonged, and it makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm an old white dude, don't like seeing pretty girls get beat up. Don't I mean, it's it's just instinctive, and it just went
Uh,
on way too
I gotta
long.
say,
That
like
fight
that
was
that was not
over in the first round.
yeah, it was. At the first round, the moment the first round ended, you could tell that there was a massive disparity in skill, and that it's not like Van Zant's a power puncher or an instant submission threat either. So the idea of her getting a Hail Mary come from behind win was pretty slim to none.
Yeah, I mean, you
And
knew what the outcome was going to be. There was one point, maybe in the late first round, and another point in the second round, where I thought, okay, maybe she's got a chance. But to win, she's a fighter that needs to impose her game and be dominant, for an extended period of time. And it was pretty clear um, midway through the second round that it was just going to go on and on, and only in one direction. A great performance from Namajunas, and um, but and it makes you think like the UFC really pushed Paige Van Zant, and all she really had was a pretty face and some grit. And
well, I mean, she also had was able. That was enough, I guess I would say, to beat the bottom end of the top 15. Like that's enough to make
sure,
her a top
sure,
10 woman strawweight. And it's I doubt, like, at least the reaction I saw online, she's not going to lose any fans out of this. Like, she is
no, but I
not.
mean, are they gonna headline another card with her?
No,
Seems
but they shouldn't have headlined this one either
no,
with her
no.
from the beginning. Like, that was always a mistake. But
And that's my problem with it. That's where it went going into the 5 round territory with these two fighters. I think it was just it sets you up for an ugly extended beating, of a really likable, nice kid. And
I will say this: I think it did more to endear this fight did more to endear her to hardcore fans, and
well,
sell
she
her to
certainly
them.
earned her stripes.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing, at least like on the Twitter end of things from everybody and all the people following the account and all that, was that everybody was like, "Oh man, I actually respect her now because I know she's not just a pretty face."
Yeah, well, I mean, I had respected some of her performances before. They were very gritty.
Yeah.
A couple of come from behind wins, not really come from behind, but she, overcame some adversity to get her wins. But just went on and on and on and on, and was brutal. But not to hate on the card. The card overall was pretty entertaining. The co-main event, Michael Chiesa and Jim Miller, that was a sweet fight.
That was, man, I was so close to I was feeling it. I picked Jim Miller. I felt like he had control of that fight for the first round, and for the start of the second round. It was
Well, the
all
second
him.
half of the first round, I mean, Chiesa
Yeah.
came out, got on top, had a good top game, but the butterfly hook reversal into the leg lock attempt was really slick for Miller. And then,
Yeah, and
and
he
it,
and Chiesa just can't strike. He still can't at all.
no, no, but that didn't become a big factor. Miller opened up, and that gave Chiesa a chance in the second round to get the quick takedown, and that final move Chiesa made. I really am looking forward to seeing that again because that was slick and fast, and it was definitely a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. And it's sad for me to see Jim Miller losing this fight, but Chiesa I think has more upside in his career at this point. So it's the way of the
Oh sure.
world, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's a good time for Chiesa to try and like actually make another, to try and really test himself at the top 15 again. He's had a couple of slight opportunities that ended up in setbacks against Masvidal and Lozon. And this could get him a fight with somebody like Dariush or maybe even a rematch with Iaquinta. See them come back around to each other again at the
What
bottom
would
of the
be in
top
it
15.
for Ally Quinta to take that fight? Like,
He lost it the first time. It would be a chance to prove that he could
yeah, but I
he's
mean,
actually good enough to win it the second time.
yeah, but I don't know. That fight makes no sense to me. I mean, it seems like I don't know. Let me look at the. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm just saying that he's got another
Eh,
chance.
maybe with the grudge factor. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But
It's just an idea, just throwing it out
just
there.
that's fine. I was just uh trying to place where Chiesa is in the division where Miller is.
Miller's number 14, so Chiesa, given the
Should be
way
in
the
the top.
UFC tends to do things, Chiesa will probably slot in his spot.
Yeah, that makes sense. But where's Iaquinta?
He's like 12, I want to say.
Huh? I thought he
I'll,
was more like 9. But yeah, that's
I'll check. I can do that real quick.
yeah. He's
Lightweight.
10. He's
Okay,
10,
he's 10.
and 10 with
So
a
split
bullet.
the difference.
So yeah, maybe since Chiesa won the first time. Um, yeah, I've been thinking of Iaquinta as in a different league for a long time, for a while. But maybe that would put a exclamation point on it.
I'm just saying that, against somebody like Iaquinta, somebody like Bobby Green, somebody like Dustin Poirier, that's going to be the kind of guys Chiesa's gonna have to fight again. And I think, more so, I mean, his striking defense is just going to keep being a question against everyone in the top 15. So,
I see Iaquinta lighting him up at this point in time, but um,
yeah.
Chiesa probably thinks he can win again. So he looked good tonight. Other than, yeah, I mean, he didn't. The striking was very brief in this fight,
Yeah.
and the grappling was excellent, and just lightning fast reversals. Everything you can want in a grappling bout. Really good fight. Now, Sage Northcutt, Cody Pfister. That was a pretty fun fight. I didn't care for Northcutt's post-fight speech much, but uh,
You don't love Fight Pass? How can you not love Fight
and
Pass?
the Mr. White and Mr. Fertitta and the Google John 316 bit was just for a kid who's not allowed on the internet. It's like
That's why he's not allowed on the internet. It's just kind of weird.
exactly. I mean, Google Ezekiel 2320 kids. Yeah, that's a little dirty Bible reference there. But Google that one, kids, and see if you learn something. But Northcutt impressed me because Pfister came out, got the takedown, was dominant on top, although he didn't do a ton with it. I was sort of disappointed that Northcutt didn't have. He had a good bottom guard game as far as defending himself, but he wasn't doing the kind of sweep attempts, and things that you want to see from a UFC fighter. But when they got back on their feet, it was takedown city, and it was all Northcutt.
Yeah, I mean, Northcutt, he's a supreme athlete, and then he otherwise has the game of somebody who's fought for a year and has some very specifically tuned like skill sets that just don't mesh at all. Like he
Yeah,
can hit a monster takedown, he can throw some crazy striking offense, but like Cody Pfister, the moment Cody Pfister like touched his leg, he just kind of fell over. You know?
yeah, I was not impressed with that at all, and there for about a minute and a half, I was wondering if the hype train was ending for Sage, like it ended for Page, but it didn't. He came back, got the guillotine choke in the second round. At first, I thought he was making a mistake dropping to his back, but it was pretty apparent quickly that it was on tight. He got the tap, so good performance from Northcutt. Although I still think the hype is way out of line with the
Oh
reality.
yeah, I
of
mean, and the
Northcutt.
thing is that everyone who's going to fight him from here on out knows what they got to do. Like, they saw him on his back, just sort of waiting to be stood up.
Yeah, it worked for Conor McGregor, so
Yeah,
you know.
whatever. We'll see. Sage is he's so early in his career that you're talking like if he can cut an amazing pace through the UFC, like the kind of thing that very, very few fighters can do, then maybe he'll be a top contender in a couple years. But it's lightweight too. Most of the
Yeah.
guys who've been able to do that kind of crazy thing are, John Jones at light heavyweight, Chris Weidman at middleweight. You don't see a lot of guys who can start their pro career in a deep division like lightweight and then be fighting for a UFC title within 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I would think it would be more realistic to be thinking a 4 or 5 year timeline. Anything faster than
Mm-hmm.
that is going to be rushing the kid. But he does seem to click. People are very interested in him, and he won the fight. So what can you say? And then the opener of the Fight Pass main card, Thiago Santos came back to beat Elias Teodoro, unanimous decision. Pretty impressive fight. The third round was pretty one sided for Santos.
Yeah, Teodoro, he has some questions to answer. I mean, it's not a loss that totally derails him as a prospect, but it did show that he really doesn't have. He needs the fundamentals in his game. He doesn't have them. And when he starts to get tired, suddenly his inability to throw a consistent jab, to throw consistent leg kicks, to hit, go for a transition from a single to a double or cut an angle on his takedown, all those little things that he's not doing, Santos just picked him apart.
Yeah, he picked him apart. Once he had him tired and hurt, he just poured it on. Uh, I thought it was one of the better performances I can remember from Santos, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
impressive. So solid main card. But let's run through the prelims first. Women's strawweight, Kaylin Kern and Emily Kagan opened it up. Kern got the submission in the second round. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it was an all right fight. Kern won the way she looked worse than I had hoped, but she won the way a good athlete does, which is that when she got the opportunity, she was fast enough to take it, and Kagan wasn't fast enough to defend it.
No, no. And so it was one sided, and that was all there was to it. Then featherweight Zybera Tugahov defeated Philip Nover by a split decision. I was going back and forth on that fight. I mean, two of the judges gave him all 3 rounds. Nover, I agreed with that decision, but I don't know.
You scored it for Nover?
No,
You were
no,
like,
no, 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 no. I didn't score it for Nover, but I didn't score it 30-27 for
no,
Tugahov.
the right scorecard was 29-28 to Kugov, and nobody turned that one
Nobody
in.
nailed that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so, but I don't know that it means anything. I wasn't especially impressed, and Nover still hasn't lived up to the hype from ages ago, and I don't think he ever will. All right, then welterweight Danny Roberts demolished Nathan Coy in his UFC debut. I was surprised that Coy was this his debut? I mean, he's like 39. He's been in Bellator.
Yeah.
He's been around forever. I've been familiar with the guy and thought he had a UFC fight at some point. But Roberts looked pretty good. Got the triangle choke and choked him unconscious.
Yeah, I'm still not sure about that submission. I didn't actually see Coy go out. I just saw him get put in the arm bar and tap, but then apparently, and I saw Roberts let go, but then apparently Coy went out. I don't know. It was just weird. Like it didn't even look like he could have gone out from the position that Roberts had him in. It was a really weird ending to the fight.
Yeah, it was strange. The whole thing, I was surprised by the way it went down. I thought Coy would be much more dominant on the ground if they tangled up like that. I thought Roberts had the edge on the feet, but what are you going to do? And then welterweight Santiago Ponzinibbio, the blogger's nemesis, demolished Andreas Stahl in I think the best violence of the night.
Yeah, no, I don't agree. Tim Means what he did to John Howard.
Well, that was a sweet hook.
Yeah,
but the Ponzinibbio was just an extended.
Ponzinibbio's his whole performance was better. That's true. Like,
and the end combination. I mean, that's the kind of thing I'm going to be airboxing when I'm jogging in the morning. I mean, that was a fantasy fight to me. Just get a guy up against the fence and just beat the piss out of him.
It's too bad because Stahl, when he went for takedowns, his takedowns were beautiful. Like he hit some gorgeous double legs, just ducked in and turned the corner and dumped Ponzinibbio, but couldn't keep him down at all.
Mm-mm.
And then every time Ponzinibbio threw anything, he just went like this and tried to ride it out. And the guy that hits as hard as Santiago Ponzinibbio, Like you just can't do that.
No, no, not with little gloves. Maybe with boxing gloves, but not in the UFC, baby. It was a good performance from Ponzinibbio. He's turned me around. I'm now a fan.
Mhm.
All right, and then Aljamain Sterling, the bantamweight, got the second round guillotine over Johnny Eduardo. Um, Pretty good performance from Sterling. I think the hype might be a little bit ahead of where he's at, but not much to knock on that fight.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, his striking's still not there, but his grappling and wrestling is ridiculous, and it's just one of those things. Like it's, I was really interested in it because very few fighters in the UFC have a fight that is that as much must win as that fight was for Sterling. Like Conor McGregor doesn't have as much pressure to beat Jose Aldo as Aljamain Sterling had to beat Johnny Eduardo there, because Sterling has made himself an enemy of the promotion and is on his way out the door trying to negotiate a bigger deal. Conor McGregor's not going to stop getting paid if he loses to
It's true.
Jose Aldo.
McGregor's over the hump, and Sterling is at a very nascent point in his career. At first, I was going, "What are you talking about?" But yeah, in the context of the promotional negotiations, just there was a lot at stake, and I was really blown away by the shit Sterling was talking about the UFC. Was it
Hmm.
last week, late last week, when
Yeah.
interviewed him for Blood and did some interviews with Stefan, the gang of Bloody Elbow, and I. But now, he's going into contract negotiations, 12-0, and money
He's a
talks,
top
bullshit
five
wins.
guy.
Yeah,
Like he's knocking on the door of a title shot that in a division that doesn't have many contenders right now.
yeah. The question is though, can he move the needle? I mean, will people buy pay-per-view or watch tune in, to a Bellator event on Spike just because Sterling's fighting, you know?
No, but yeah, and I think it depends if he's just looking to match the other top five fighters in his division, which is what it sounds like. Then I don't know if that's a concern because none of them move the needle. Or move the needle. Um,
Faber does kind
Faber
of.
does, and he has for years, but he's the only one.
Yeah, and he's also basically a wrung out washcloth. Although he's talking
Yeah.
up his grudge match with T.J. Dillashaw, and that was good spinning from Favor there.
Hmm.
But who's he fighting? He's fighting the on Saturday.
Fighting Frankie Signs.
Yeah, Frankie Signs. That fight to me is like, why are you booking this fight? Like, they just think Faber's going to beat Signs, or
I
because
get they either want to get him a win or it's just Faber wants to stay busy and stay in front of people, and this was the guy that was available to do it.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Signs, Faber should beat Signs, but still, Signs is a dangerous cat.
Yeah.
That fight doesn't make much sense. But that's a bit of a derail. And so, middleweight Antonio Carlos Jr. versus Kevin Casey, 11 seconds, no contest, eye poke. Is
Probably
that
the
the
fastest no
shortest?
contest. Yeah, I think it is in UFC history, not in MMA history, obviously. There's
No.
like a 6 second one in Strike Force, I think, for the White Mare.
Yes. And but this is UFC history in the making, and so not much to say about it. But
No.
bad break for Kevin Casey, and you hate to see blood coming out of a guy's eye after an eye poke like
Yeah.
that, and because retina damage could be nasty into a career. So anyway, maybe they'll get to do a rematch. Hopefully Casey's okay, but it was a pretty bullshit eye poke. The open hand Klein.
Yeah.
I'm against it. Anyway, so welterweight Sergio Moraes knocked out Omari Akhmedov in the third round.
Weird
Pretty,
ass fight.
yeah. Uh, uh, Tell us about it. I have nothing to say.
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those, like, I, Akhmedov was fighting his fight, honestly. He had the fight he wanted. He was forcing Moraes to try to come at him with strikes, and he was being able to counter and land the harder shots. And I mean, the only thing is that, and that worked in the first round. In the second round, nothing happened. I have no idea how that round was scored. I'd love to see scorecards on it. Doesn't matter in the end, but then Moraes finally landed one punch and just kind of went ape on Omari Akhmedov, and I don't know, like it really wasn't a pretty win for Moraes. He fought an ugly, terrible fight up until the point of that KO, and Akhmedov just kind of didn't do anything impressive after his first round knockdown of Marias. So
Yeah, he let the fight get away from him, and what can you say? Did he retire Brian Ebersol? Was that Ebersol's
yes,
last fight? So he might have some karma there. It might be a karma question.
it could be.
Um, but and then in the top fight of the Fight Pass preliminary card, which to me is just annoying. Why do they have to split this into separate streams and make you log out and back into another stream? Anyway, Means knocked out John Howard, second round, 21 seconds. Beautiful left hook. He was out on his feet, fell, bashed his head into the canvas, and then took a hammer fist to the temple and was totally stiffened up. I was worried about him for a second, but really good performance from Means. He stunned Howard early, and then let Howard recover and go for some takedowns. There was some fence grabbing, but really sweet hook to the jaw from Means.
Yeah, Means really seems like, I mean, I think
He
we kind of
means business.
he means business. That's right. Tim means business. Um, he he looks like things are really clicking for him right now. I still think that Matt Brown fight, he can say that, oh well, if I had it to do over again, I think I'd win or whatever. But I think he still has a ceiling that is below the top 10 of that division. Maybe, selectively there are some fights that he could really win there, but he's just a great action fighter.
Yeah, he's very fun. Matt Brown was just quite a jump in difficult degree of difficulty for where Means is, and at his Means age, I don't think he's ever gonna, be a
I don't
top
think he's gonna
contender.
break through. And it's just so, it's just kind of one of those guys that you should enjoy his fights while they're here because they're probably all going to be fun. And yeah, he's never going to be a contender, but it'll be a lot of fun to watch him get knockouts like that along the way.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, and his losses, I mean, the guys he's fought and lost to, Matt Brown, Neil Magny, Danny Castillo, George Masvidal, those are all guys at one or two steps above where I think Means is ever going to be. But yeah, fun fight. It would be a good scrap for him.
I Let's see. The guy, where's Tim Means right now? He is.
He's not in the top 15.
No, he's not in the top 15, but I'm just trying to find out where. There he is. He is at 7-4 now, so he's got 11 fights. Maybe Eric Silva would be a fun one, but I think Silva's coming off a loss, so that might not make a ton of sense.
And Silva's a guy who should be head and shoulders above Tim Means if he didn't have.
Well, yeah, I don't know if Silva.
His performance is so erratic, but skill set wise,
you know who would be awesome?
Who's that?
Thiago Alves when he comes back.
Ooh.
That would be an awesome fight for Tim.
That would be a good fight because Alves though is a guy I kind of want to see retire. But
well, yeah, but if he's not gonna, he's not gonna. Whatever.
Yeah, it's his decision. The dude's a prize fighter and a serious, mean, vicious killer dude. So would give no mercy and expect none. So that is a good idea. But back to the main event, Namajunas demolishes Paige Vanzant. I mean, completely one-sided. I'm sort of interested to see a strike count and everything on that. See the stats on that because I can't think of a more one-sided 5-round fight.
I think for the first couple rounds, even maybe through 3, they're saying the strike count was pretty even. Because, Vanzant landed a lot of really small strikes. She was able to pepper in a lot of small shots when they were clinched up.
If you're getting strikes that don't hurt anybody, then it was. But Namajunas was throwing the 1-2s and just popping her head back and right from the get go.
The very first strike Namajunas threw, I don't even know that it landed, but Vanzant, she was standing there and she just went like this, and it was just like, oh God, this is gonna go. From that point, it's just like she's not ready.
No, she's not. She's not, and she's got a lot of work to do. And I don't know. I'm just the whole thing. She's so young, and so limited in her skill set. But she won. She's beaten some tough fighters and won some tough fights. So.
She's still good enough to be a top 15 fighter in that division right now and win enough fights to stay around as she improves. I don't think it's anything that's like, oh, she's going to get, that there's maybe I don't know. She probably has some small chance to beat somebody even like, Jessica Aguilar, who
Maybe.
is really not a dangerous striker in any sense.
Yeah. How do you remember her fight with Tisha Torres in Invicta?
Yeah, I remember that. It
How
was
was that? She lost,
it,
but
she
was she
lost, but
competitive?
she did okay. She was competitive. Like it wasn't just a total beating. She just kind of got outworked the whole way through.
Yeah.
Stayed on the feet a lot, stayed clinched against the cage, gave up a lot of position, but it wasn't just like she didn't just get mauled. It wasn't like this Namajunas fight.
Yeah, like see, because to me, if she fought like Valerie Letourneau, she would just get murked. I mean,
Yeah, she probably would. She really can't be like top 5 right now, which is what she was creeping up on.
yeah,
She's a good, top 50, 10 to 15 kind of fighter. And this division, as it comes together and it keeps coming together, we're gonna see some of the fight. It'll be interesting to see who falls out of it. There's some fighters in there that are just kind of like, they're interesting personalities, or they are
Felice
skilled.
Herrick. You're talking about Felice Herrick, basically. Like, and that's her biggest win, right? I mean,
Yeah. Or,
and
like, Asling Daly is, she's not bad, but she's not a great athlete. Like, there are
no,
just some scrappy fighters in that division that are at right now top 15 talent. And in
yeah,
the next 2 years, the chances of them holding on to those positions is a lot slimmer.
because you have to think there's a gold rush going on of athletic young women that are watching
Yes.
Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm and going, I want some of that, and that are far, far better athletes than the ladies that are competing in the division right now, and are going to be much better trained and more well-rounded skill set wise, and they're just going to cut through the division. But because there's just not that much competition for women's athletes, it's not
Yeah.
like there's, you know, um, I mean, what if you're a 115-pound woman? What other professional sports opportunities do you really have? Like women's
Yeah.
NBA? I
Wow.
guess you got
Yeah.
tennis, but
If you're a softball player coming out of college, what are you going to do to play like pro sports?
yeah, yeah, and some of those gals can throw down. I've
Yeah.
I've, I've
I
seen
mean,
I've seen I've seen the softball games afterwards. Some ugly brawls on the women's softball court. All right, so anyway, that's the fight card, and it's just the beginning. This was the appetizer. Tomorrow night, another appetizer, the Ultimate Fighter finale with Edgar and Mendez, which I think is one of the most important fights of the year, and I think it should be an action fight as well.
yeah, it should be an awesome fight. I think that basically, I think that Chad Mendez is probably going to have a huge advantage, a bigger one than people think, a
Really?
much bigger one.
I've convinced
And
myself with the whole Dwayne Ludwig leaving Team Alpha Male that his striking's not going to be as
I
improved
mean,
as it has been. And
the thing is that Frankie Edgar, as he's gotten older and gone on, like he's become so much more focused on like being able to push the wrestling part of his game to really throw guys off. Out wrestle Swanson into the ground, out wrestle Faber, and push Faber around. Faber just looked. That was a fight that showed that Faber's really lost a step. Um, and obviously Penn losing a step, but
a
there's
lot of steps, but
a lot of steps, but there is no way he's going to out wrestle Chad Mendez.
no. But if he can, yeah, you might be right. You might be right. My thinking was that he at one point Edgar had a clear boxing edge over Mendez. Mendez has improved dramatically. My thinking was he could box him up and then surprise him with the takedown, but I think people are on to the surprise with Frankie.
Yeah, and Chad Mendez, I mean, we're talking about somebody who just went punch for punch with Jose Aldo and came, as close as anyone ever has to beating him. Frankie Edgar did not come that close, no matter how many people want to try and tell you how they could score that fight. And I just think that this is going to be one of those times where this might be a little
well
bit.
against McGregor on short notice as well. I mean, you have to.
Yeah. This is going to be I feel like this could be one of those times like this Vanzant Namajunas fight where everybody kind of goes in saying, oh, this is going to be really close and like really, competitive. And then Mendez is just like way more powerful.
Well,
I have a feeling.
we'll find out tomorrow night. So, because we'll be
Yeah.
back with another 6th round after the fights. We've done all the vivisections. You can go back and watch those previews on our YouTube channel if you missed them. We've done the Care Don't Care previews for all the cards this weekend. So we'll be back for that tomorrow night, and then Saturday night, UFC 194, Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo, Chris Weidman, Luke Rockhold, Romero, Jacare. I mean, this card is stacked. It's the best pay-per-view of the year.
Somebody mentioned it to me the other day. Every fighter on the main card has headlined a UFC card.
Holloway has?
Yeah, he's headlined. He headlined against I think it was against Cub Swanson.
Huh? Was that on Fight Pass?
Let's see. He headlined against Oliveira rather, and that was
yeah, you're right. He had.
I don't know. It was a Saskatoon card. I don't know what.
Saskatoon, yes.
I don't know if that was Fight Pass or not, but still, every single fighter on the main card has headlined a UFC event.
Huh. Wow. That's just tells you how awesome it's going to be, or how awesome it looks on paper. Hopefully, it won't disappoint. The prelims, I don't think are as great, but
they're
still
really good. I mean, they're all solid.
Yeah.
I don't have any complaints.
Yeah, no. And so anyway, it's a we're through the worst of it with this card, and tomorrow night looks fun, and 194 looks spectacular. So be back. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at TheZaneSimon, at KidNate. Read us at BloodyElbow.com. Anything else I forgot to plug?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, enjoy the Mega Fight Week. Is this UFC Expo, or what are they calling it? What?
I don't know. I think one of their events got moved. Like it was going to be this tough finale was going to be last week or something like that, and it had to get moved at the last minute, and then they just decided to throw another event on there, and so it's just a clusterfuck. It's a UFC clusterfuck.
They've got a lot of contractual obligations to get out there, and so they did it, and so far so good. So hats off. So adios, MMA aficionados. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, Zane.